Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and today we're gonna do our top 10 strongest formable colonial nations. The things we'll take into account are gonna be the specific modifiers that you can get from these nations together with the ideas and the location that they start off in. If we get this video to 2,000 likes, I'm also gonna do the top 10 strongest multiplayer nations in 1.30. The nation with the sexiest flag in the whole game, the West Indies. The West Indies, aside from having a super cool flag and a great national color, starts off in a super good trade node within the New World, namely the Caribbean trade node, which can essentially, if you manage to lock this off, prevent any sort of trade from going into the Old World, thus starving out the Europeans. The West Indies has some seriously good ideas, but not so military ideas, mostly economic ideas and playing toll ideas. We start off with minus 10 dev cost reduction together with 1 extra merchant and 1 extra colonist after we fill up all of our ideas. Then we get production efficiency plus 10 with construction cost minus 10%, institution spread plus 20%, national unrest minus 2, trade range and global trade power plus 5%, promoted cultures plus 2, diplo rep plus 1, and naval force limit plus 25%. As you can see, we have not a single one of those sweet military ideas, but we do have a lot of economic ideas together with some good naval ideas. A game as the West Indies basically means a game in which you should be playing toll, dev up your provinces, and try to hold all of the trade within the Caribbean area before it goes on into the European parts. This can easily be done, especially if you have all of the provinces in the Caribbean trade node. That does mean that you will have to go into the Venezuelan areas as well as the Floridian areas, but it's not a massive necessity, and you can just simply stay as an island nation, funding up everybody's wars and just chilling on your islands without having to worry about a thing in the world. Playing as the West Indies is definitely a lot of fun, but not so much for those who like to blob out and expand like crazy. Next up on our list is the nation of Colombia. You can form the Colombian nation as long as you have a few provinces within the proper Colombian area, and once you form Colombia, you're actually going to get permanent claims on the entire greater Colombian area, which means all of the Venezuelan area as well as the Guyana and the Ecuador area. So that means whatever nation might have formed next to you, it's going to have some issues, as you will be able to get a claim and attack them with very much ease. One more thing to note is that you're probably going to be able to get the Panama Canal as well, or even if you don't get it, you're going to be next to it, so quite easy to get it, which means that you're going to be building the Panama Canal, which is going to facilitate transport between the two sides of the American continents. The ideas are super good as well, especially for a toll play. You get minus 10 dev cost reduction from the get-go together with heretical and heathen provinces not giving any penalties, and once you fill up all of your ideas, you get morale of armies plus 10%. You can also get yearly republican tradition plus 0.50, province trade power modifier plus 25%, which is great for keeping the trade in the New World rather than having it slip over into the Old World. You get construction cost minus 10% also together with idea cost minus 10, which means that you're going to get your ideas unlocked much faster than most nations out there, and regiment cost minus 10, global settler increase plus 20%, as well as the ability to discover adjacent provinces when a colony is built. This is super good for grabbing the colonies before your enemies or rivals do. And your last idea is going to be leaders without upkeep plus 1. The obvious drawback is the fact that you only have one good military idea, namely morale of armies plus 10, but the other ideas really compensate for that, especially since you have a lot of playing toll ideas, including the idea cost reduction and the dev cost reduction, which make a massive difference. Remember that in most games, it's manpower that wins the wars, not the 5% extra discipline or 10% extra morale. The land of the free and the home of the oil magnates is the United States. The US can be formed as long as you have some provinces within the 13 colonies area, and afterwards you're gonna get a sweet beautiful color on the map that spills out freedom everywhere in every direction, even if you don't want it. The missions that you get as the United States are not amazing, but you actually do get missions, which is pretty good considering that pretty much no other nation that you can form gets missions in the colonial areas. You get 15 prestige from them, you get 2 stability, manpower recovery and yearly prestige, as well as settler chance and global settler increase plus 25. All of these are temporary boosts, so they're not really amazing. What is, however, amazing is the fact that you get actually permanent claims on the entire East Coast. And having the permanent claims is that you can actually use those to attack whatever nation might have the East Coast that is not you, of course. Aside from the amazing claims, you also have some pretty decent ideas, starting off with +1 merchants and marine force limit plus 10%. That's a huge amount of marines that you can have. Also, if you're gonna stay as a republic, you can also get yearly republican tradition plus 0.30, but that doesn't apply if you're a monarchy. As your first unlockable idea, you can get tolerance of heretics plus 5, followed up by national unrest minus 2, 1 extra colonist that will definitely help you out colonize the new world faster, morale of armies plus 10%, goods produced plus 15%, together with prestige plus 1, and autonomy change minus 0.025, as well as minimum autonomy in territories minus 10%, which is quite good if you're struggling with governing capacity and you have a lot of territories. The US is surprisingly one of the best nations for a world conquest, and if you haven't checked it yet, you should check my USA Let's Play, which is basically a world conquest Let's Play. A nation that you can form once you have parts of British Columbia, Cascadia, has some impressive benefits if formed. After you form Cascadia, you're gonna get permanent claims on the entire Alaskan and basically the entire northwest part of the American continent. Aside from the claims that you get from them, you also have their beautiful ideas here that start off with construction cost minus 10 and morale of armies plus 15% from the get-go, together with ship trade power plus 25% after you finish all of your ideas. Cascadia also has max promoted cultures plus 2, native uprising chance minus 50%, and native assimilation plus 50, which helps a lot when you're colonizing, as mixed in with the right policy means that you can get a lot more development from whichever provinces you're colonizing than you would otherwise. You also get an interesting fort defense minus 20%, spy detection plus 33, domestic trade power plus 25 to keep the trade within the North American continent, as well as a merchant and land attrition minus 20%. Overall, the Cascadian ideas are pretty well balanced with some decent military ideas as well as trade and basically economic ideas to go along. The Cascadian flag and color are super interesting. I've never seen this kind of green before and personally really enjoy looking at it. Remember, this is a map game and you're gonna look at this color for a long time. How would you feel about looking at the screen for about 7 hours a day? One of the benefits of Cascadia being in the northwest part of the American continent means that you're gonna get a higher than normal chance of getting gold mines spawning into your provinces, which obviously will be of great help in boosting up your economy. G'day mate, and welcome to Australia. This is the EU4 official advertisement for you to actually play this nation for once. In any case, Australia has a lot of things to offer, like Vegemite in this one province over here. We also have the beautiful cities of Melbourne and Sydney, of course, with the swamplands actually being the capital. But aside from all jokes, Australia is actually a decent nation to be forming in EU4 because you get permanent claims on all of Australia together with New Zealand, which, let's face it, is actually the better nation to form, but nobody's talking about that, okay? The Australian ideas are super decent. You get shipbuilding time minus 20% together with global settler increase plus 25 and a whopping minus 15% dev cost reduction after you fill up all of your ideas. You can get an extra colonist very early on in the game, which will help you colonize the Malaccan trade areas if you wish to. Attrition for enemies, because this is the most welcoming place in the world you should really visit. And land attrition minus 10% for yourself, because you know the way. Australia also gets 20% national manpower modifier together with infantry combat ability plus 10% and marines force limit plus 10%, meaning that you can actually have marines very early on in the game without having to go for the absolute shitty naval ideas to get them. One more thing that you get is ship cost minus 10% and ship disengagement chance plus 5% because they like running away, of course, from engagements. Towards the end, we get an extra 10% shock damage and construction cost minus 10% because all the cheap labor from places, I don't know from where, from places. But all jokes aside, Australia is actually a super cheesy nation to form as Ming in order to get rid of the mandate of heaven and the end tag that is Ming. It's been done many times on the Reddit forums and you should try it as well. If you're scared of the chupacabra, then you're probably Mexican. So Mexico can actually be formed in EU4 in case you didn't know. And Mexico normally will have the gold mines in the Mexican area, obviously, that's why it's Mexico. And if you manage to get a hold of all those gold mines, you should have around 50 to 60 ducats easily from gold alone. But aside from that, the Mexican actually boasts quite decent military ideas mixed in with some really great playing toll and deving up ideas. ideas. First off, you have yearly inflation reduction plus 0.10, which is amazing as you will be able to get a lot of gold mines and you are going to struggle with the inflation that these gold mines are going to be offering you. As such, yearly inflation reduction makes a lot of sense. You also get plus 15 global settler increase, which considering that you are in the colonies will help you a lot to establish yourself and colonize before anybody else does, together with manpower recovery speed plus 15% for that sweet boost in manpower recovery. When it comes to plate toll, we have construction costs minus 10%, years of separatism minus 5, max promoted cultures plus 1, and production efficiency plus 15%, which means that economically speaking, you should be quite well off. Not to mention, you also get a massive boost of minus 10 idea cost reduction. Granted, this is not unlocked from the first idea group, it's going to be from the second idea group, but still it will help you out with the following idea groups as it's going to make them a lot cheaper. The last two ideas you're going to unlock as Mexico are going to be land leader shock plus 1 and the morale of armies plus 10%. Very likely if you play as Mexico, you will have to rely on your economy above all when it comes to warfare. A nation that not many people know exists, Sonora. Sonora starts off within the Baja California area and Sonora area, so you need to have a few provinces within the state of Sonora or Baja California in order to form it. Once you formed it, you're going to get permanent claims on your surroundings, namely the northwest area above Mexico together with some parts below the Navajo wasteland, and the crown jewel of Sonora is its ideas. The Sonoran ideas are a mix of both quite good military ideas as well as expansion focused and economic ideas. You start off with national tax modifier plus 10% together with prestige plus 1, and after you've finished your ideas you get leader siege plus 1. As your first unlockable, you can get manpower for your mercenaries plus 50% and discipline for the mercs plus 5, followed up by core creation cost minus 10%, yearly inflation reduction plus 0.10, which is great as a lot of the times if you are going to form Sonora, you likely will have the gold mines in the Aztec regions, or you might even get some gold mines within your provinces, as you do have quite a high chance of getting a gold mine within the Sonoran general area. Moving on, you also get land fire damage plus 10% together with light ship cost minus 10 and privateer efficiency plus 10%. A great thing that Sonora has is the land force limit modifier plus 33%, which means that you can have a massive army without having to pay for being over the force limit. And you also get movement speed plus 15% to outrun your enemies, and prestige from land battles plus 50%. In most cases, it's actually better forming Sonora than forming Mexico, as Sonora has way better military ideas together with basically about the same economic ideas that Mexico has. Another nation you can form in the Oceanian area is Zealandia. Zealandia is basically the same like Australia, except you need to have a few provinces and New Zealand, and you get a really interesting flag as well as a very puke color for your nation. Zealandia has got some really interesting ideas, starting off with the global trade power plus 10%, diplo relations plus 1, as well as you get 1 extra colonist after you filled up all of your ideas. As your first unlockable idea, you get yearly republican tradition plus 0.15, followed up by goods produced plus 10% and dev cost minus 10% together with prestige decay minus 0.5%. You can get a bit of shock damage plus 10% as well, and global settler increase plus 25. One of the last ideas being the morale of armies plus 15% because you've rejected the Australian constitution. Your last idea is going to be a really buffed up diplomatic reputation plus 2. So altogether the QE ideas are actually quite decent. Most people prefer to form Zealandia as it has better military advantages over the Australian ideas with the morale of armies plus 15%, but it's your choice. I'll let you make the decision whether you want to form Australia or Zealandia. Do remember, really nice blue color compared to puke. Up next is the nation of Alaska. Alaska is formed after you've gotten a few provinces within the proper Alaskan areas in the northwestern part of the North American continent, and it's going to be quite hard for Europeans to form this as it's going to take a while to reach this area. It is going to be a lot easier, however, for the Asian nations to form Alaska as they will be a lot closer. Alaska also has a very nice benefit because it has a higher chance of triggering gold mines, so you might be able to get a couple of gold mines in the northern part here, which are going to be quite beneficial, especially if you dev them up to around 10 development or even 11 if you want to overkill it, boosting your economy quite a bit. But the jewel of Alaska is its national ideas. They start off with morale of navies plus 20% and light ship combat ability plus 15, and they even get heavy ship combat ability plus 10, which means that you will definitely be ruling the waves as the Alaskans. Your first unlockable idea is dev cost minus 15%. That's one of the highest dev cost reduction from a national idea you'll ever see. You also get global settler increase plus 25, core creation cost minus 20, land fire damage plus 15, tolerance of the heretics plus 2, and max promoted cultures plus 1, national sailors modifier plus 15, and naval force limit plus 25%, as well as yearly prestige plus 1. Overall, the Alaskan ideas are insanely overpowered. You have a great and powerful navy that you can get from these ideas, as well as land fire damage for your armies, and awesome development reduction for playing toll. A really great strat is to start off in one of the Japanese islands, colonize 5 provinces in the Alaskan area, switch on over to the Alaskan nation, and take on over the rest of North America, sneak your way all the way to the gold mines in Mexico, and then wait for the Europeans to come. From the lands of yeehaws and firearms is Texas, of course. Texas is one of the strongest military nation in the New World that you can actually form, and it is quite easily formable if you just have a few provinces in the Texan area. That means that even as a small Irish duchy, you can even go and form Texas and pay back the English a visit much later down the line in your game. The Texan ideas start off with minus 10 fire damage received, as well as you get plus 15 morale of armies after you filled up all of your ideas, and you start off as well with the heretical and heathen provinces not giving you any penalties. That boost alone is significant, especially when you go on a world conquest. As your first unlockable, you have the Lone Star State that gives you plus 1 prestige, followed up by land fire damage plus 10, goods produced plus 10% as well, which helps a lot with the economy, land attrition minus 10%, and movement speed plus 15%. That's going to be quite useful when you try to outrun your enemies around the New World, whilst at the same time taking less attrition. You also get minus 15 stab cost modifier and minus 10 dev cost reduction. This means that Texas has insane military ideas, as well as it can play toll with the dev cost reduction that it has, and the goods produced modifier giving it a significant economic boost over its neighbors. The starting area that Texas is going to be formed in and its surrounding areas are quite good as well. In the Alabama area, you got a couple of farmland provinces that you can dev up like crazy, as well as a few savannas, which considering the other provinces are way better. Even in the Mississippi, we have a little bit of farmlands, and the best part is that you can quickly snipe out the Mexican gold mines, getting filthy rich in the process if you manage to get all of these juicy gold mines. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as leave the bell button on. If we get this video to 2,000 likes, I'm gonna do my top 10 strongest multiplayer nations in 1.30. Also, I want to give a very big shout out to all my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much, guys, for all the support you've been offering me. I wouldn't be here without you, so if anybody else wants to become a patron or a channel member, you can check the links in the description. Until the next one, have a great day, everybody.